Tired of screwing up, tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.
Eminent Waste of Time, episode 31. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And we are joined today by Pro UTV driver extraordinaire, Steve Mueller.
You get that? You're a pro.
Really? Pro.
Dude, look at that thing behind you. You're all stickered up and got sponsors and...
Well, there's that old saying, like, if you look good, you only have to perform as half bad, or half as good, I should say.
That's what you're going for, huh?
There we go. It works.
Perfect.
The real question is, do each one of those stickers add 5 horsepower?
I don't know. I think you know that answer now, right?
Yes, but the rest of the world doesn't know yet.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
There's one sticker in particular that adds about 30 horsepower.
Yeah. It's about middle, below the door.
Oh, the Eminent Performance, right?
Yeah,
it's on there.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Dude, we need to make Eminent Waste of Time stickers. I don't know why that hasn't occurred to me until now.
Yeah, we should.
I mean, we could literally give out 3 or 4 of those.
I know a guy. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, that might have to happen.
Yep, I agree. We need to make stickers. And we're going to have to get shirts going because Steve wanted a, stupid stuff with Chad shirt.
Oh, definitely. Well, and I do want to make some hats too, like maybe not
whiskey
full,
salsa?
maybe not full. Yes, whiskey salsa hats.
If we could come up with our own whiskey salsa brand salsa.
Okay, I'm working on that. I've got some bourbon at home. I can make this happen.
Just dump that in there.
What is it? It's literally just Jack Daniels and Chi-Chi salsa. What says what it is on the tin.
By the way, I'm going to apologize up front. It's like the first dusty race of every season. I say that, I've only done like one full, but man, my sinuses after that first dusty race, I am bad right now. And on top of that, I'm Ron Whiting it for this, so I'm just going to apologize up front.
No, it's allowable. It took me right up until about today before I could talk properly after this last race, but we'll get to all that stuff. First, I have to bang on Ford for a tragic design flaw in the Ford Fusion.
Oh, yeah? What did they do?
I've been really happy with that car so far. It's getting great gas mileage. It's super comfortable. Compared to my Focus, that thing is just amazing.
Well, yeah, you went from a Focus, so...
Don't badmouth my hail-damaged Focus.
It's dead now.
The universe wanted it dead, so it made sure this time. Instead of hail damage, it made sure this time it was dead. But anyways, I really like to drive with my windows down, even if it's relatively hot. I mean, it's got to be pretty hot outside before I'm really interested in air conditioning.
Okay.
Well, when you're driving along and you got, 2 windows down, like your front and back window, or maybe you have all 4 down and the phone rings and you go to roll up windows. You always roll up the front ones first, just out of habit. Uh-huh. And when just the back ones are down, it does that like
high pressure pulsing.
Yeah, that like makes your head cave in.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, the Ford, the Fusion does that basically all the time. There's one very, very narrow range where the windows work where they don't do that. And I was just muttering under I want to say cursing, but I wasn't. I was just muttering under my breath at Ford until I found like the perfect sweet spot. And that's it. Like you just can't roll around with the windows down unless you want your head to cave in. And that's with the front windows down.
That's ridiculous.
So I don't know how that made it through testing, but I'm disappointed.
Yeah. Happens, I guess.
I'm revoking your sponsor. Oh, wait, they're not sponsors.
They're not doing it.
They're never going to be, are they?
No.
Especially not after that rant.
No. I hate you, Ford. Please come sponsor us. So
yeah, that was my Ford rant. I don't know. It just occurred to me on the way here. I was like, that's really super annoying. And you would think with all the wind tunnel testing and everything they do nowadays.
Now they did it with the windows up.
Well, do it with the windows down next time and make sure it doesn't cave people's skulls in when they have the windows down.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Is there any other random bantering you want to do? For
witty ramblings?
That wasn't witty at all. That was just me complaining like a little, schoolgirl, but...
No, I got nothing. Let's move on.
So this last race we had, it was another MWXC race weekend. And if you'll recall, a couple episodes ago, we talked about round 2, which was a giant mud pit. Round 1 was a Saturday wasn't bad. Sunday was cold and miserable. This was pretty much picture perfect weather, which meant it was dusty. Because if it's really, really nice outside, that means it's just insanely dusty on the track because you can't win.
Yeah.
And you can't keep racers happy. If it's dusty, they want you to water the track. If you water the track, they can complain that you only got the top 16th of an inch wet, and now it's just slimy and they're sliding around. And if it's any more than that, it's too deep and it's muddy, and you can't make racers happy. But honestly, it was a really good weekend.
This was probably the best, if not of the entire year, the best side-by-side track I have seen. It was phenomenal, dust aside. I mean, tight-wise, I don't know if the guys listen to the podcast, but 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed this track this past weekend.
Now, Andy says he does listen to the podcast,
so yep, he should hear you say that.
I don't know if he listens to all of them, but he's listened to at least enough of them that he's admitted to it.
Jeremy Cooper was saying he started.
He did. He's
checking them out.
He's a mess as well.
I think this track was like NASCAR compared to most of them. In reality, speed-wise, I'm sure you guys will get into it. Speed-wise, we could book
this track.
Yep, fully agree. No, it was a good track. I like the mix of, there was some tight sections back up in there, and man, especially in a side-by-side, let them get up and run.
Yep.
I like the open sections where you could, I don't know what speeds we're
and
touching.
there's some really big field sections back there. I raced as well. I was with Mike Plank. We talked about that last podcast.
Yeah.
He's just in a little Razor 800. We were kissing 65.
Yeah.
That's moving.
I don't know how fast we were going. I had the GPS screen up.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Because Steve, tell them what you did with your Ride Command setup there.
This is cool. The Polaris Ride Command, I've never really gotten in depth with it, but we got to the track early enough on Friday that I got my phone out, downloaded the Polaris Ride Command app, and I went out and, by the rules, I walked the track, and I just hit record on the Ride Command app just to see, and it did a really good job. It recorded the entire track, and I got back to the Razor at the camper, and I uploaded it via thumb drive to the display in the Razor. And I was telling Chad, I was like, man, because I know some cell phones are notoriously not very accurate when they record GPS. I was like, if it's within a few feet, I think it's a success. And Chad, I think we were within a couple feet.
Yeah.
Especially going through the dusty sections, having that up on display was really nice. That was awesome. So I give Polaris props on that. I know that wasn't its intended focus or purpose. But in terms of racing, a lot of people may not even know it. Desert racers, they go out and pre-run and GPS record the entire thing. I even know some XC racers that take an iPad and do the same thing. And there's apps out there like you can put Big Rock or hard left or hard right. But the fact that you can have that on display was awesome, and it worked.
Yeah, no, I agree. It worked really well. It did save us a couple times where we were running behind some guys that were really churning up some dust, especially the first lap. And we're able to say, okay, this, we're going to have a hard left coming up here. We still ran slower in that section, but it was within a few feet. Pretty much the whole way.
So what you guys have effectively admitted is that UTV guys are sissies, because how the dirt bike guys and the quad guys are doing it? They're counting.
Yeah.
I can be on the full throttle in this gear for like a 6 count, and then I got to brake hard because I'm at the end of that straightaway.
Oh, I know.
That's way too technical for me.
But that's literally what they were doing out there. I talked to several that were on the podium and said, yeah, I just count, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, get on the brakes. And they get on the brakes, and sure enough, there'd be a hay bale there.
Yeah.
Which sounds terrifying to me, because my whole thought is, how even is your counting when you've got adrenaline going? Like if it's a slow part of the track or there's no pressure around you, is your counting slower than if you've got somebody behind you or you're chasing somebody in front of you?
Right.
We're humans. We're highly variable. Nobody died out there, so obviously it works, but
yeah.
In fact, kind of underscoring the, UTVs are for old guys thing. the dirt bikes. So I was talking to them up on the podium. This was the PM race, so we had the pros up there and stuff, and they were talking about, it's kind of a challenging track, and one of the older guys like, yeah, man, I'm definitely getting too old for this stuff. And the guy who won is a legitimate pro, and he's I don't know, I'm just guessing by looks, he's like 22, 23, okay. Younger guy.
Yeah. Which
a lot of them are. And I made some crack about, pretty soon you'll be up with those old guys driving UTVs. And I thought they were both about ready to fall over laughing.
UTVs is just a different thing. I agree. It's a sport you can go to when the body will no longer take dirt bikes and quads. But I don't think it's a strictly older person sport either.
No, it's not. Younger people have two things that make them amenable to the whole dirt bike and quad process. Number one, they have more physical endurance. Number two, they're dumber, so they're willing to do it. And three, they're cheaper.
And they heal quick.
Well, they do heal quick, but also three, they're a lot less expensive to get into. You can get into for what you would spend on even an entry level UTV like yours. I mean, yours is an entry level, but like if you want to get into 1,000 turbo, you did it as cheap as you could.
Yeah.
Think about if you put that much into it.
$925, Doug.
Yeah, they're only 925s. They're not 1,000.
Okay. It says 1,000 turbo.
I'm sorry, I see it on Facebook all the time.
Like somebody's like 1,000 people at 925. So I just had
I had to be that guy.
That's fine. I get it.
But the last thing I was going to say is, can you imagine if you dumped $17,000 into a dirt bike? Like what kind of dirt bike you would have?
Oh yeah, I mean,
I don't even know if you. Well, I suppose you could. Anything's possible. But
see, the funny thing is, you dump 17, 18, 19, 20,000 into a side by side. It's not race ready at all.
No,
like it's okay. I can take it out on the trails, and if I drive it reasonably, it will live.
And all you racers out there,
the problem is the price on the parts. Like a starter for this, don't quote me, but like retail, it's like $500. I can go get a starter for a 400EX for like $50.
Yeah,
it's like,
oh yeah,
wow.
Oh yeah, we've talked about it before. You bend a tie rod on a quad, you go spend $30. You bend one on a UTV, you go spend $150 or more, depending on how heavy duty it was, if it was aftermarket, all that kind of stuff. And when I said you guys are dumb enough to do it, I meant that in the most affectionate, loving way, because I do think you're insane, but I love watching you do it.
Yeah.
I probably, no joke, I'm probably over 40 grand in this right now.
I've never even owned something I drive back and forth to work that much that is worth that much.
I know, like in Illinois, I'm waiting for them to, because I live in Illinois, I'm waiting for them. They're actually right now through the house trying to get it approved. To approve these things on any road up to 55 miles an hour. And I'm like, for the price of the insurance and everything else with these things, absolutely, I'll drive it to work. Absolutely.
Yep.
That would be a blast.
I don't think I'd drive mine to work. I have a lot of highway to get there.
I'd thought about making an actual like road worthy UTV. I mean, just like gearing it towards street use or like very light trail use. You
could. I mean, it wouldn't be bad.
I don't know. It wouldn't be that hard to do either, but I mean, I'd probably do some, like drop the suspension some. You don't really want that much travel and that much lean out of a, UTV that would be roadworthy and everything else. But
I don't know. It'd make it good for climbing curbs and getting around traffic jams.
I'm not saying like chop it all the way down. But
yeah, dynamics, that'll do it.
I don't know. Just kind of a fun idea I'd had, and I don't know if I'd ever do it, but
yeah. So the race this weekend.
So we had 897 racers through the gate, not people. We had a gate total of, I can't remember, it was north of 2,500. Now that's adults because we don't gate kids under 12, I think it is, or something like that.
I don't know. Whatever it is.
Yeah, I never pay anyways because I work there.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, so it was. That's
not the record. It's getting close to the record.
The record's north of 900, but that puts it in the top 5 easily, possibly the top 3.
Yeah, it's up there.
Yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. it's definitely a ton of people through the gate, and a really, really good race setup. In fact, it was busy enough. I gave this stat out to the racers of the adult AM race for bikes. Now, that's always our biggest race.
Yeah.
AM races are always bigger than PM because you just have more riders that are of, lesser skill and speed. So the AM races tend to be bigger. And we had 247 bikes on the line for AM bikes. And the bikes are there's always more of them than quads too. I think
Right.
quads the day before we had 160 or so, which still isn't bad.
Right.
So here's some perspective on that. If your average bike has a wheelbase of 5 feet, that means if you lined up all those bikes nose to tail, there was over a quarter mile of bikes on that track. Now, given that it was a 6-mile track, that means there was only room for 128 feet at most between each bike. Now, the way they bunch up and stuff, that basically means that you do have little gaps, but then once those gaps are over, it's just a continuous stream of bikes.
Yeah.
So it was crowded out there, but man, it was a great weekend, great turnout. Everybody really seemed to enjoy themselves. I think that's the first weekend we've had in 2018 where we've had 2 nice days back to back.
Yeah. The dust was a real thing.
It wasn't as bad as last year, though.
Yeah. No, it wasn't as bad as last year's, but also we were slightly earlier in the season this year going to that location.
Yeah.
But
that property does not hold water because we've been talking about how wet and how miserable it was here this spring.
oh yeah.
And then we get out there and it's just dusty instantly.
It's a dust bowl. Yeah, and here like at my place even well, Steve came out to my place to do a little riding and stuff the Friday before the race, and we were still hitting little pockets of mud, and we were avoiding some trails because there's mud in the area and stuff like that. We get out there and it's just dust is rolling. So
Yeah, it's always that way. In fact, what they told me is the year before, when before we got involved in MWXC, that year was even worse, if you can imagine it, than the previous year, which we thought was just terrible because it was. But yeah, I got home and was blowing brown junk out of my nose for days. My hands felt like sandpaper. I mean, it was one of those type of weekends. But really, just a stellar turnout, and again, most of the riders and stuff, just really good attitudes about the crowded conditions and everything. And that's always kind of the biggest concern is, sometimes you put that many competitive people in a short space, and
they don't like it.
Tempers get testy and that sort of thing. But didn't seem to happen this time around, which is fine.
Yeah.
Steve, you're all blurry there. You need better internet.
It wouldn't surprise me. My internet provider is not the greatest.
Oh yeah.
Well, you're on the country, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Well, I guess you are too, Chad, and you've got like 100 meg internet here. So.
Well, yeah, but I have fiber direct to my door, so it's a rarity.
So you are a high tech redneck.
I am high tech rednecking it.
So, Steve, why don't you give us a rundown of your perspective of the race from behind the wheel? I guess before we do that, I told you all I was riding with Mike Plank, and so when I told Mike I was riding with him, he said, "Man, that's awesome. We'll wave to Chad as we go by." So a little bit of just kind of badgering back and forth, and nobody thought that was going to happen because we're in an 800.
Right.
Well,
Sure enough, you waved as you went by.
the Eminent Performance legacy lives on. So for those of you who, I'll get this close as I can, you should know what this is. That is part of a belt.
I know it. What is that again? I have no idea what that is. Could you elaborate? What is that?
That is
I think I have old pilot out here in my driveway.
that is a part of a belt, not an entire belt. And this was not cut down for the show. This wasn't like, oh, I don't want to hold up a whole belt, I'll put a cut down piece. This used to be part of a whole belt that used to be inside of Steve's UT. There we go. So
Yeah,
Chad,
yeah.
So the Chad curse lives on,
Yes, it
and
does.
they made 3 full laps, and on their 4th lap, not on a hill, not stuck in the mud, revving the heck out of it, on a straightaway,
Wide open throttle.
this thing turns into a multi-100-piece belt.
Yeah, it happened.
Yes, it did.
And Mike Plank and I survived the whole race, and so when we caught up to him, I waved as I went by.
Yeah, you did. And it wasn't until after the fact that Chad told me. Of course, the podcast came out
yesterday, and I got to hear what exactly was going on.
And then, yeah, you guys sure did. You did the parade wave right as you went by. Of course, then Kyle Cheney comes around the corner and buries me in a
Foot of mud because he's fast, but yeah.
Yeah, I still don't know exactly what happened. I have not broke a belt in over a year of racing. It was at round 1 at MWXC last year that I broke a belt. That is like one of 2 DNFs.
That's what happened.
I blame Chad. Yeah. However, I was telling Chad earlier, I found a lot of people don't know this. I put gear reduction in this. It has, I think, about a 33% gear reduction in it. That's one of the things that Polaris changed in the turbo from when it was introduced in 2016 to now. And as Chad may elaborate later on, his 2018 is a little faster than mine, and that's probably why, because I have a 33% gear reduction. But when I did the gear reduction, it's all transmission internals, all the gears, everything was swapped out, and I did not replace the transmission input shaft seal. Against my better judgment, against my better knowledge, I was like, oh, it's only got 4 hours on it, it'll be fine. And sure enough, last night when I was taking the clutches off and cleaning the aftermath out, there was a nice light film of oil on the housing behind the secondary clutch. So, and my second mistake is I was running a spare belt that race. I didn't look back at my logbook to see how many hours it had on it, but of course, Chad and I also heat soaked it pretty good the day before. So. Yeah. I don't exactly know what was the contributing factor, but yeah, lap 4, it was Chad. We blew the belt. And sure enough, here goes Doug and Mike right on by.
And right as we cruised on by, I told Mike, I said, I'm actually really glad to see that because I was so worried for a while that it was me. Like I was the cause of all these failures. And now I know it was you the entire time.
I'll take it. Whatever.
Chad did awesome though. I was thoroughly impressed. I mean, for a co-driver, the fact that he had raced before and side by sides and the same series, knew what to expect. He was pushing me, especially where I needed to be pushed. A lot of people don't know this. I have no racing experience at all. I mean, a lot of people that race these things, they come from like a motocross, they were bike guys or they were quad guys, and then they jumped over. I have none of that. I was one of those guys. I'll tell it all day long. I thought I was. You guys talk about it on the podcast. I thought I was
a fast trail rider. Loved trail riding, and I thought I was good and moving the trees.
I got out of
the military, and I was like, I'm gonna.
That's literally how I did it, and I jumped right into a turbo with 150 plus horses to wheels. So, I mean, it was a very like I said, you guys have talked about it before in the past. It was a steep, very fast slap in the face learning curve because people like Devin Smith were just right by me. And by the way, Devin, if you're listening, I don't know if you listen, I will buy beer. I will hand you
$10, $20. I want to go ride with you. So keep that out there.
So some race, IXCR or something, I'm not running out there with you. I want to co-drive with you. Like I said, I'll buy the beer or I'll hand you $20. I just want to ride in that thing with you. I'm just saying.
Yep. No, it was good. I had a good time co-driving for you. And Steve and I were talking before we started recording. We got to hang out a little bit this weekend too. And Doug will vouch for this. I joke around a lot. I'm very seldom serious when I'm outside of things. Yes. But as soon as we got in the buggy, ask Steve, there was no joking. I didn't say a smart aleck comment. I didn't laugh until we blew the belt and I was climbing out.
Yep.
I mean, it was it is a switch. And when I'm in the buggy, I'm there to put in the work and I'm there to do the best that we can. And when it's over, no matter what the outcome is, hey, I had fun and I'll joke and laugh with you, but that's when it's over.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's funny because honestly, what you all get on this podcast is basically, we've said it before, it's just kind of how we talk on a normal basis. But it was the same thing when I was co-driving for you last year. It's like there wasn't any chatter that didn't need to be there, and there wasn't any, there wasn't jokes about stuff. It was just, it's time to race.
Yeah.
And that was it.
There were several times you would talk for a few minutes, and I would realize I wasn't responding at all to you. I was processing the information, but I was busy driving. And I would say, I hear what you're saying. I'm not ignoring you.
And I never took it that way. I knew exactly what was happening.
Right.
I'm like, I'm just going to keep feeding.
Yeah. So, no, I'm a firm believer that a good co-driver will help your race. Not just you, Steve, but anybody, because they can feed information that the driver just can't take in.
Oh, yeah. I was kind of amazed because we talked about Mike Plank is obviously a great driver. He's running that 800 as hard as it will possibly go. And we finished the race. I mean, obviously, we finished first in the lights, and we finished 9th overall out of a field of, there's 22, I think, total UTVs. Yep. So, and that's on a little Razor 800. That's seen a lot of use, too. This thing is not factory fresh by any stretch of the imaginations. He drove the heck out of that thing. So I wasn't intimidated, but I was unsure how much he wanted out of me because he tends to have a lot of different co-drivers. He doesn't race like, this is my co-driver.
Right.
It's, you want to ride along, let's go. And so I quickly realized, though, he was appreciating that I was feeding him information. So I started to be a little more vocal about, no, I would take this line, hug this one tight inside, go straight through here. There was one point where the track went left if you followed the blue and the red arrows, but if you were following black and pink side by side, you were supposed to go straight, but it was grassy there.
Yeah.
So it didn't look like you were supposed to go straight if you're just processing it by, I see a trail going that way.
Yeah.
And so he starts to turn, and I'm like, straight, oh, yep, okay, and he pulls back over. I mean, we didn't get like way off course, but I could see he was just starting to nudge the wheel, and I'm like, no, dead straight.
Yeah.
So it was interesting that somebody who has a fair amount of race experience and has been very successful, I still felt like, okay, I can contribute. I don't need to just be here for the ride.
Right. Yep. And I think we had that.
It's funny because, you guys have said it before, I think Mike's limiting factor is the machine. My limiting factor is me. So it's like two opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, he's really good and the machine's not not really there. Me, it's backwards. I've got the machine, but I'm not really there.
Yeah. No, we did the same thing, and it might have been in the same spot where you started to follow a fellow racer who was going off track. And I was like, nope, straight, right through there. And that gained us a position right there. So,
well, there's a lot happening, and it happens really, really fast. And that's the hardest part is it's amazing how slow a UTV looks like it's going through a straight. I mean, even a big, machine like yours, it's got a stage 3 ECU tune and all those other goodies. When they're out there in the field, they don't really look like they're moving that fast because people see things going 70 miles an hour all the time on the freeway. It's just a speed that we're used to seeing. But when you're behind the wheel, or if you're in the passenger seat, it's happening at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, and I don't get to watch the screen that much or the display while we're racing because I'm tunnel visioned. But at Chad's, when I was out at Chad's on Friday before the race, we were touching 68 miles an hour through the straight, the wide open sections.
Yep.
Doing some testing. That is moving. Go out to the freeway. Realistically, that's the speed they're moving at, and through a cornfield or, a wide open dirt section. It's just.
Or between two trees that are 68 inches apart.
I won't do that in the woods, but some other people will. Devin, I want to ride with you when you do that because I've seen you.
And there were some legitimately fast drivers there this weekend, too. I mean, Kyle Chaney was there.
Yeah.
And that guy is insane. I mean, in all the good possible ways you can be insane. It would be equal parts awesome and terrifying to be in the passenger seat because he doesn't lift. He just drives hard.
Yeah.
He hits those trees 70 miles an hour, threads the needle through them.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a really good video. I'm gonna stitch that into the YouTube here of him. It's a perfect example of how to take a jump.
Yeah.
And then how not to take a jump.
Yeah. You'll see it right Here-ish.
Actually, I'll probably make it full screen.
Okay.
It's worth it not seeing our ugly mugs for a few. So there was another light that was racing against Plank and I, and he got a little mouthy during the pre-race, and I wasn't there to hear it, so I don't know if it was good-natured or if it was this guy was genuinely full of himself. It sounds like the latter, but I'll try and give him the benefit of the doubt. But he was telling us that, man, you know, you might get me out of the gate a little bit, but after that, I'm going to be right on your bumper. I'm an outstanding driver. And after we got the whole shot, we never saw him again.
Yeah.
Because he was nowhere close to us.
Well, I saw him. He was the one upside down in the creek.
So Cheney goes over this little creek jump and does it like you're supposed to, drives it hard into, because it's a very short ramp, the kind that typically nose dumps UTVs if you don't know what you're doing.
Yep.
He accelerates hard into it, which compresses the front suspension, and you don't let it uncompress until you hit the top of the jump by staying on the throttle, and then it kind of pitches the front end up a little bit, enough that you don't nosedive when you land. I mean, you still go nose down. That's just how UTVs land.
Yep.
But you don't like immediately just go straight down. Well, the guy in the 800 behind him had two things going against him. He didn't have the knowledge of how to do that jump, obviously. And even if he did, he didn't have the horsepower to make that kind of jump happen. So he gets a little, he basically gets tentative as he's approaching it and backs off, which is the worst thing you can do.
Yes.
And this thing goes over the ramp and immediately puts its nose in the ditch, does a nose stand, and then falls over on its side.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with Plank's reaction when it got posted on Facebook. He's like, I can't get enough of this video.
I bet I've watched it 30 times.
It's so freaking funny. So that's, I'll post it in here. If you're listening to the audio of the podcast, you're at about the 30-minute mark right now. Go find the YouTube video at around the 30-minute mark-ish, and you'll find that video, and it's just a riot.
Yeah, it was a pretty good one.
To put it in perspective, like Cheney, like we have the pros, we'll call it the pro section or the pro guys. Cheney, he's in the insane. And to put it in perspective, he had some issues right out of the gate, lap 1. And I went back and looked at his lap times, and the overall
winner at this race, his fastest lap time was a 6 minute and 45 seconds. That's his fastest. He was number 1 overall winner. Cheney's fastest lap was 47 seconds faster than him.
Yeah.
And
that is insane. Cheney turned a 5 minute, 58 second lap time, and the overall leader's fastest lap time was 6 minutes and 45 seconds.
And keep in mind,
the guy is crazy through these tracks.
And keep in mind, this is a 3.5 mile track, I think it was.
Yeah.
3.5 miles.
I think Ride Command said it was like 3.7 miles, I think. Yeah.
45 seconds on a 3.5 mile track is an eternity.
Yeah.
That's a ton of time to make up in one lap.
Yep. Yeah. He's a for real driver. I would love to ride with him.
I would too.
I would love to, but is what it is.
I now raised Devin's cost from a pack of beer and $20, so I will call Kyle Cheney. I'll give you $100.
Of your choice. I don't care if it comes from Germany. I have connections from the military. I will make it happen. But I want to ride it once. I'll probably have to medicate to do it, but just once. That's all I ask.
You'll learn a lot if you pay attention, if you don't have your eyes closed the whole time.
I probably will end up with like the state fair rides. I'll probably end up with my eyes closed. Screaming.
So, well, no, all in all, good race. Yeah, I had a good time.
It was just a great track too. I mean, MWXC did a great job of putting on a phenomenal event. The track design, a lot of it's dictated by years prior.
Yeah.
But still, they made some nice changes this year and really just made an extremely fun track. I mean, nobody there really had anything bad to say about it. They just said they had a blast.
Yeah.
And AM Bikes, one of the guys that came back was from IXCR.
Yep.
And he had come when we had announced that we were still running bikes after IXCR canceled last round. And he said he had so much fun, he wanted to come back. He had so much fun at this one that he said, I'm coming to all your races from here on out. Like, he was really genuinely excited, which was cool to see that somebody came through and had that kind of a, reaction to the race event we were putting on. And he's a good rider. I mean, he finished second overall in C Open.
Yeah.
So he's
He's
a fairly
tough
fast
competitor.
rider. Yeah, absolutely. So that was a lot of fun, but it did kind of spawn a discussion between you and I about car-to-car or car-to-pit radios, and should they be allowed?
Right. So Steve and I talked about this also, but so car-to-car radios and car-to-pit radios, so any basic radio other than intercom in MWXC and several other series is not allowed. Now, you throw onto that what GNCC rules have done with UTVs to where they have not allowed spectators in the woods anymore, and you're going to have to find a new way to get spectators involved. So, to me, and Steve and I talked about this, and you and I talked about this a little bit, but my opinion, I don't see the major thing of what a car-to-car or a car-to-pit radio is really going to hurt. Series.
I don't either. I mean, even if you're arguing, well, you could have people up ahead spotting. Well, so what?
You still got to follow the track.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't it make the race that much better if your spotter said, hey, you're at mile marker 3. When you get up to 4, there's a huge bottleneck because the UTV turned over in the middle of the track, and you're going to have to just be prepared. You're going to have to find a route around it. Right. I mean, that's actually going to help the whole flow of the race, not hurt it. I can't really think of a circumstance. I mean,
it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that because MWXC, I'm pretty sure IXCR, a lot of the series around the Midwest don't allow it. Illinois Midwest side-by-side only series over here in Illinois that's new, they allow it. And matter of fact, I sent Chad a clip of it. The last race that they had over here, lap 1, right out of the gate, there was an RS1, and I don't know who it was, but
he went into a turn and rolled. And I actually had my radio on, car to pit or car to car, my mobile radio off my intercom on. And Chad, you might be able to post a clip in there. But I actually radioed to the officials running the race. I said, hey, the RS1 rolled. And in the video clip, it's kind of quick. The first 1 or 2 seconds, you'll see on the left that the RS1's upside down, or not upside down, on its side as I'm going by. And the way I have my intercom tied into my radio, I have to reach into my dish steering wheel to hit the button.
I got someone knocking.
He could have very easily, hit the button and called it in, but I actually record my intercom audio on mine into my GoPro, and you can hear in the clip that I'm like, hey, the RS1 rolled, and they came back because they didn't hear me right away, and they're like, what was that? And I said, the RS1 rolled, and then they're like, okay, copy that. Hey, Cody, can you go, as the track sweep, can you go check it out and make sure the guy's okay? So I think there's a whole safety aspect there that I think that some of the people running these series are missing out on by not allowing that.
What do you say? RS1 roll. 10-4, Cody, copy that.
I mean, I can see both sides of it, but like you guys said, what are you really going to gain? What is somebody going to do? Radio to you and say, hey, you can go 100 mile an hour through the dust cloud? I don't understand.
Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it may even be a thing of, you could, in theory, tune into another racer's radio and steal their strategy or something. You still have to drive. You can hear exactly what they're going to do. If you can't drive, it doesn't matter. So I can't think of anything detrimental enough to outweigh the benefits of it.
It would make team tactics a bit easier to do.
Yeah,
but
I was just gonna say that I know some of the dirt car racers and I hate to say NASCAR, but bigger series like that, I know they're required to wear at least a receive only monitor for safety. Hey, the yellow flag's out. Hey, this car rolled. Watch for the caution or whatever. there's a lot of, I think, safety aspects of it that are very beneficial, even in our series with these things that even, and I know it can even trickle down to bikes and quads. I know you can get a little headset, I think they call it like Echo Bees. They look like a little pager, and it's just a pair of like headphones. So even like bike and quad guys that can't have a bulky radio like that, I think they could still benefit from having something like that, from, you know, track to racers communication, not just backwards or vice versa.
Yeah, no, I agree. It would be good because also, well, we've talked about it in the past, people that cut the track. You know, if someone's driving in front of me, I can report it. Now, that doesn't mean that anything's going to happen right away, but I can say, hey, you know, so-and-so cut a track, you know, a mile off the track right in front of me. When they come around, then the scorekeeping can look at it and be like, oh, yeah, their lap is definitely shorter there or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
well, it also lets you know if the track crew themselves, if there's a spot where several people are cutting, it becomes a problem area.
They can go park there.
They would know. So I really can't think of a significant enough downside to not allow that. And I really don't think it changes the competition aspect of it all that much.
No, I agree. I mean, if you don't want to
I agree with like Chad, especially like for the whole GNCC spectator thing. You know, you could advertise that frequency that we're running on, and it becomes kind of almost a marketing thing. Everybody out in the pits could listen to us talk or whatever's going, just like NASCAR. I mean, you go to a NASCAR race and everybody's sitting there with their headsets on and their scanners listening to, you know, spotter, car communication, all that stuff, you know?
Yeah, you got either a scanner set up or, I mean, these Bofang cheap Chinese ham radios that are wide open, they work in the business bands and everywhere else. Even if you're not a ham radio fanatic, you can buy these things for literally as cheap as $10 a piece. And for that $10, you've got something now that you can listen into your favorite racer that, at least in the GNCC, you can't even go in the woods and see them now.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me that wouldn't drive engagement up that much more to be able to hear that chatter. I mean, especially NASCAR, all you get is the chatter from the driver to the pits. If you do it in side-by-side, you're getting the co-driver and driver interaction. I mean, it almost puts you in the driver's seat or as close as you're going to get.
Right. Now, Steve and I, we had a malfunction that the cord didn't get plugged in, so we didn't catch all the chatter back and forth that we had that was in the intercom system.
I prefer to think of it as a mercy.
Yeah, well, it could be. But, I mean, you would get to hear, okay, hard right coming up here. Here's where we want to, you know, really stand on the throttle. You know, there's a stump coming up. This is where we had problems last time lap, and, you know, all the things that we were going on and on about. That really would put people right there in the car with you as much as you could do. The only other step you could do.
Changing.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are both IT guys as well as myself. I mean, not to toot our own horn or anything, but I mean, sometimes you got to grow with the technology, and it's definitely out there and it's definitely changing. I mean, like we talked about earlier, the Ride Command app, I didn't do anything against the rules. I walked the track. You know, I mean, it's stuff like that. It's always evolving. You know, I think it's some of the series just aren't there to grow with it or don't care to even grow with it, you know?
Well, and it begs an interesting question, too. Certain series allow it, certain series don't, and this is a piece of old tech. What do you think about horns?
I don't think horns are a bad thing. I think horns should be allowed because we came up behind, well, it was the guy who eventually ended up flipping in the creek, but I was hollering at him, but he didn't hear me. I mean, there's no way he heard me. And so Steve finally gave him a bump, and the guy literally had just stopped in the middle of the track. Like he was lost or confused or something.
He had no idea we were there.
Yeah, he had no idea. So it's not like we rammed him, but we just bumped him to let him know we were there, and he pulled over. The guy was good about it. I'm not saying he was being, you know, a jerk. But had we had a horn, we could have gotten, you know, saved 10 seconds or whatever on that lap where we had to pull up behind him, slow down a bunch, bump him, and then he had to get over and we could go on.
We had a similar situation in the 800. We were coming out of one of the field sections into, it was basically a little brief wooded section before it dumped you back out into another field.
Yep.
You know the spot I'm talking about. It's kind of tight through there.
Yep.
So we were giving it the beans through that field, and it's dusty. Well, unbeknownst to us, because of all the dust, there was a 900 in the dust that didn't back off. He stayed in the throttle because he could see just enough of us to know where we were.
Yeah.
We didn't know he was there. He was coming up on the driver's side rear quarter. I couldn't see him.
Yeah.
And Plank couldn't see him either, even with his rear view mirror. And so when we went in the woods, he wanted around us because he was legitimately faster. So he came up and clipped us. I mean, it didn't do any damage. And as soon as we knew what was going on, we pulled over, slammed on the brakes and pulled over just enough that he could eke by. But we were both basically side by side heading into a set of trees that was barely wide enough for one side by side. And he clipped us and kind of pushed us out of the way a little bit. If he had had a horn, I'm sure he would have been, signaled us that he was there.
Right. And you guys would have backed off and let him go, and that would have been that.
Yeah. I mean, nothing bad happened, but if that had happened a half a second differently, it could have been bad.
Oh, yeah.
We kind of had a similar situation like that where the hills by the start line that you went up and back down and up and back down, we were going up a hill, and I'm not a jumper by any means, and there was those jumps out of, in that section, and we came off one of those jumps and started going up that hill. Not only did we get hit, he started pushing me up that hill and almost into a tree. And Chad really had to talk me off the ledge. I was pinging. I was screaming. It's one thing, like, bumping and rubbing is racing. It's a whole other story when you hit and start pushing. That is, like, no bueno with me. It freaked me out, especially when we were heading right for a big, almost a 180-degree turn with trees. If he pushed just a little bit more, we would have went head on right into that tree. And
you don't want Chad behind you then.
No, no. I was at that point. I believe the conversation was like, "Don't let him get to you. Drive your race. Don't let him push you into making mistakes." So
yeah,
look at you being all reasonable when you're in the passenger seat.
Kind of reasonable.
He did a killer job. He really did.
Well, no, I mean, I know that kind of thing, and especially with me, if I'm driving, that can upset me enough that I'm no longer driving to my full ability. Because I'm focused on that, and I'm not focused on my driving.
Exactly. The best revenge is doing well.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yep.
Now, believe it or not, Steve, I know you've never done a podcast with us. We are already at the point where we need to get into trivia and stupid stuff with Chad, or we're going to be forever long.
We are.
We're going 2 hours. We're going 2 hours. We're going to do it.
I don't know if the world's ready for that.
We can do another one at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
They're hard to stretch into 2 hours.
More races coming up here that you're going to be riding along. So.
We are. I'm going for a ride the next two. Is that right? The next two you're doing? One is over in Illinois
and Indiana. Yep.
Nice.
Back here. So, yeah, we'll have more stories.
We'll plug in the intercom.
Yeah, we'll get that this time.
Seems fair enough. And we're also going to be heading out to Brimstone. I mean, there's a couple podcasts between here and there, but that'll be coming up. I mean, there'll be all sorts of opportunities we can suck you back into this madness we call a podcast.
Fully agree. So I have to find my email I sent to myself.
So we're going to do something a little different. We're still going to have trivia, but Steve is going to take first crack at it.
You're going to answer trivia.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I like that.
Not going to end well. Not going to end well.
Oh, you'll be all right. And then I already know the stupid stuff. I already know the stupid stuff with Chad's story we're going to do. It's the one I just saw last week that I told you about.
Yeah, we definitely got to do that.
So, okay.
That's
No. Well, we can talk about that.
That'll be another brief one.
Yeah. You guys can talk about that since you're more affected by it than I was. I was fine with my carrots and donut. So anyway, trivia.
Don't let your minds run away with that one. We'll explain it.
Question number 1. Steve, you'll get to answer first. Who was the first person...
Hold on,
No.
Sorry.
It's all right. Who was the first person to break the sound barrier?
That's
a guy on a bicycle with a jet engine? I have no idea.
Do you have no answer?
I'm not a random fat guy person like Doug is. I have no idea.
Okay, so we're getting a no answer from Steve.
Chuck Yeager.
Very good. Doug got it. Chuck Yeager.
I mean, like, how could you, like, I mind blown. You win.
Okay, question number 2.
38 years of misspent time.
Yep. How did Al Capone die?
Ooh. Isn't that one of, like, the unsolved mysteries?
No. You're thinking of where's Jimmy Hoffa's body.
True. Very true. I don't honestly know.
I already knew this one. Douglas, do you have an answer?
I'll know. Somebody told me at one point, but I can't remember. Syphilis. I don't know.
Correct.
I thought that's right. It was in there for some reason.
way.
I thought that's what it was, but
All the gangster activity and syphilis got him.
That's
so think about this.
crazy.
The guy made how many $1 billion a year?
It was like $15 billion a year or something, I think, in today's money.
Gets taken down by the IRS and dies of syphilis.
Yeah.
Tell me karma doesn't come back around for you.
Yeah,
That'll get
for
you.
real.
Man, look at me, 2 for 2.
Yeah, you're doing good today. All right. Question number 3. In the TV show The Simpsons, who was Santa's little helper?
The dog.
The dog.
That is correct. It is the Simpsons' pet dog.
Yes.
Look at that. Okay. Question number 4. In the movie Days of Thunder, what car is Cole Trickle told to hit in his first race?
I don't even think I've seen the movie.
What?
Honestly, I have no idea. I haven't.
You need to watch it.
It's
put
been
it
too
on the
long.
list.
I remember the scene, but I don't remember
You don't remember?
specifics.
The pace car. Told him, go out there and hit the pace car.
Did
goes,
he?
hit
I
the
don't-
pace car?
Okay.
He goes, hit the pace car.
My-
You've hit everything else
my-
on this track.
Oh, that's right. I'd forgotten about that scene. Oh,
The
man.
next movie on my list to watch is Super Troopers 2.
Ah,
I love Super Troopers. Now you listen right now. All right.
meow.
You,
Right, meow.
you've seen the preview for that, haven't you?
Yes.
Oh, my
Yes.
word. I was dying.
Yeah, the preview looks good. The movie looks good.
How much do I get if I
It's not-
what do I get if I
it's
shoot
like,
that bird?
Die, Baldy, or whatever he says.
Get out of here, Baldy.
Oh, we've gotten off track. All right, question number 5. What does the Scoville scale measure?
That is the hotness of a pepper, correct?
That is correct.
That is the answer.
Oh,
That references back to
Man.
my
Now, how does
jalapeno poppers
Now, how does-
story from last week. Last week.
whiskey affect the Schofield scale when you have whiskey salsa?
I don't know.
Okay.
It wasn't very hot salsa to begin with, but the whiskey salsa, the whiskey was a predominant flavor. All right. Question number 6. How many dogs survived the sinking of the Titanic?
Well, that's an interesting one.
I didn't even know there were dogs on it.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, these were rich people.
Yeah, they're bringing their dogs.
True story.
These were
I-
these were probably the type of people that would have been like, "Oh, my servant's dying. Better save the dog."
I'm going to go with 7. I
Douglas?
have no idea.
All of them.
I'm sure that's not true.
Okay, I have no idea. Okay, I'm gonna go low. No, I'm gonna go high. I'm gonna go 15. I lied. I'm going high.
3 dogs survived.
Okay,
Closest
I had no
I'm
clue.
coming over, right?
That's not a stat that had ever occurred to me to look up.
I know. But it's what I
Quarter of an
found.
internet point?
Half an internet point, yes, because you were close.
Closer, yes.
Question number 7. How long does it take for light from the sun to reach the earth?
Ooh. I know it's. I don't know that, but I have no idea.
You got to have a guess.
I don't have an honest answer. Let's just say, I don't know, I'll throw a random, I don't know, we'll say 24 hours.
Wow.
Okay.
Today's sunlight is
I don't know.
yesterday's.
You're-
8.3 minutes.
It is right at 8 minutes, yes.
He Googled that.
No, I
He
didn't.
Googled it.
I knew that one too.
God's honest truth.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
That's my doubtful. I don't know that random kind of stuff.
It's important when you're racing. This is why you failed.
True story. True story.
All right. Question number 8. What country did Hawaiian pizza come from?
Nice.
I have no idea. I pass.
Pass.
Yeah, pass.
Okay. Douglas? He's for those of you just listening, he's looking at my face trying to see if I'm trying to just mess with him. And did my face give me away?
Your face always messes with me, but that's a whole different line of story. Well, I don't think I'm going to assume that Hawaiian pizza was invented before Hawaii officially became a state. So I'm not going to say the United States, but I don't know I don't know the history of Hawaii. I don't know if they were their own sovereign thing before or if, Russia owned them or what, but.
So what is your guess?
Hawaii.
Sir? Canada.
Nice.
What?
Yeah.
Back to Super Troopers 2, apparently.
Yep. Okay.
So is that because it's probably had to do with the ham on it?
The ham, I would assume. Yes.
Yeah, that does make sense, kind of in a weird sort of way.
Yep. Okay, question number 9. In older television sets and computer monitors, what does the abbreviation CRT stand for?
Oh, man, you would ask that, wouldn't you?
Yep, I would.
It's been so long, I can't recall it.
Doug will know it, and he's going to shout it out here in a moment.
Yeah, Doug's he's reaching right now. He's just ready. I'm going to pass to Doug because I cannot remember it.
Douglas?
Cathode ray tube.
There you go.
I thought it had something to do with tube, but I didn't want to say it.
Okay, so this is a great segue into the other thing we just talked about. But question number 10. In Simpsons episode Selma's Choice, Homer can't go to Duff Gardens because he's sick from eating what?
This was on the other day. What was it?
I think I know. I actually think I know this.
Wasn't it an old donut or something? Old donut?
Nope.
Something. Meatloaf? I don't remember.
Was it
just on like literally last week?
Wasn't it the black pickled egg, like the last one in the jar that was black?
No, that gave him hallucinations in another episode.
It was a sandwich.
It was an old sandwich.
Oh,
Yes!
that's right.
Yes. That's funny.
So that ties into.
It was like a big, huge, it was like a party, 20-foot long sandwich that you brought home from work, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't he go around eating it for a really long time?
Yeah.
He's just for hours.
So this isn't the stupid thing with Chad, but I'll let you guys fill in everyone on.
Okay, so Chad is not afraid to eat anything. I think we've established that on the show. Now, I'm not really either. I'm not a particularly picky eater. I don't mean flavors. I mean, I'll eat stuff off the ground. It doesn't, if it...
You are by my standards. You're very picky.
Well, but see, the difference is I'm willing to do it on a lark. You just do it as a matter of course when there's no benefit to be found. Prime example, this weekend, we ran across a box of donuts from the prior race. So it was 2 weeks old. Now, there's enough sugar and other stuff in there that it's not like a rancid donut. They weren't moldy. Well, it was a blueberry donut, I assume. That could have been blue blotches of mold.
Black mold donut.
It could have been a black mold donut. I don't know. But Chad decides, I'm going to eat it because it's here. I don't have any problem with that. Other than that, 2 minutes later, Gary comes through with a box of fresh donuts, which admittedly, way better than 2-week-old trailer donuts.
I don't know. I didn't eat the new ones. I just ate the old ones.
So as we fast forward a half hour or an hour or something like that, and we're putting the podium banner up, and I find a carrot on the ground. It's a baby carrot. And I don't mean kid had just dropped it. I mean, this thing's been on the ground, rolled and coated. Now, remember how dusty we were talking about it was? This thing is a brown carrot now. I'm like,
dust.
Chad, you need veggies. Because he just had a donut. You got to balance it out. You're a health. No, you're not a healthy eater.
I'm not a healthy eater.
Well, I was trying to make you a healthy eater. So Chad proceeds to eat said carrot. Again, there was no real benefit to doing it other than that I just knew he would if I handed it to him.
It was perfectly good food. Now, you'll be proud of me. When I was heading on Sunday, when you weren't there, I got my chicken chunks from the trailer, from the food trailer there, and I dropped one. And I'll be darned if I'm wasting a good chicken chunk. Now, this thing hits the ground to the finish line. I say the ground. It hits the floor of the finish line trailer, which is coated in dirt. So it is effectively like the ground outside. Right.
It does a full couple barrel rolls, and they just had taken this thing out of the fryer. So it's still juicy on the outside.
Yep.
So it picks up the dust. I am not sacrificing one of my 8 chicken chunks. Little ranch on that sucker. I ate it.
Yep. There you go. See,
That's awesome.
I'm rubbing off on you.
I think we should end this now before anything else happens to me.
Too. I've got a stupid thing with Steve after Chad's done too.
Okay. You want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I think Steve can go first.
Well, given my luck this whole season with everything that I keep fighting, I think you guys have talked about it on the podcast. My Fox shocks. I think actually you said Polaris. I sent them to Fox.
Oh, okay.
I still haven't got the pictures from Fox from when they arrived, but they snapped the electric valve or damaged the electric valve. That's $300. Anyway, just with my awesome luck this season, I was power washing this after the last race, the round 2 race, and I don't know why or what happened, but my fire extinguisher about there. You know how they have the pin, and then they put that little tab in there to like keep it safetied in there?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why or when that safety was missing, the pin was missing, and I'm power washing and I'm going, and apparently the power washer is powerful enough that it set off the fire extinguisher, and it was blowing all over the top of the razor and all over the dash. So I spent 2 hours not power washing mud, but power washing the sodium bicarb from the fire extinguisher all out of the razor. And I was like, that's just retarded. I could not believe, in my luck, stupid things with Steve. I blew off the fire extinguisher with a power washer of all things that you could possibly, not during a race, not some like awesome story to tell everybody. Hey, I got, Penny's taking pictures of us with a fire extinguisher going down a wide open stretch, but a power washer after the race, I blow off my fire extinguisher.
There you go.
Go figure.
Actually, that's the perfect segue into your story because
that pretty well works.
This wasn't a stupid thing Chad did. This was a stupid
thing
stuff
I happened
Chad
upon.
witnessed.
Yeah.
And it's great.
So I was driving through, not my town here where I live, but a local town where I'm in a lot. And that town has one of those like water filling stations where it's like a 6-inch hose, and for people that have to haul water to their house. So I drive by it fairly regularly. I see it, and I always see trucks out there filling up, big tanks in the bed of their trucks or on a trailer or whatever. And I go by, and it's this old like mid 90s or early 90s Chevy. Nothing to do with Chevys, just saying it's what it was. And
it has everything to do with Chevys and the mentalities of their owners.
Hey, there's a Chevy sitting 3 feet that way.
Been near a water filling station lately?
So anyway, this guy, I look over at him, and he is like ate up, methed out. He is, the mind is no longer there. So he waves to me like he knows me. I don't know this guy, but he's got his windows down. And instead of filling a water tank, he's got the hose running in the window of his truck, and he's filling the interior of his truck as fast as that 6-inch hose will pump water in. And it's just running out the bottoms of the doors and everything else. And I'm like, well, this is really interesting. If I had more time, I was going to stop and see what he was doing, because he didn't seem like, dangerous. And I really was curious. I told Doug, I can only imagine the amount of crap floating in that water from an old Chevy truck interior, and that guy is a meth head.
About like needles and syringes that were floating around.
So he was bad, okay?
Yeah. Oh, he was just filling the interior of his truck up with water. I don't know how high it was. It wasn't.
Fire?
No. He was there, happy as can be, just waving at me and filling the interior of his truck with water.
Because what else do you do?
Like Pinterest pool mod, maybe we're missing.
I have no idea.
With the Tide Pod challenge and the IKEA Fort challenge and all this other stupid crap that's happening, maybe it's something we're just not aware of.
Yeah, I think this guy was just nutty. He'd lost it.
If anybody out there listening wants to do this and take pictures, we could make this an internet thing.
His cheese had slid off his cracker, if you know what I'm saying.
I'd like to think that the highbrow crowd that we cater to at this podcast would never, even think of doing such a thing.
No, they surely wouldn't do
After some of these races, I might pull my razor up there and let it flood it.
Yeah.
That's about as far as I go.
Yeah. So that was quite interesting.
Welcome to Indiana. I can't even try and justify why that happened. You should have stopped though, man. The video would have been gold.
Oh yeah.
Like a little video in an interview. So
now we
what's
have
up
the thing
there
back there.
Oh yeah, we got to do this real quick. So You grab it. I'm talking. I'm doing hosty things because I'm the host of this, right? Or something.
Okay.
I started. So Chad got a screaming deal on this thing that is going on the Razor. Now, it's kind of showing up there. We haven't painted yet. If you can't make it out, this is Eminent Performance and our logo. This is a new grill for the Razor. So I'm describing this for everybody out there in podcast land that can't see the video. So it says Eminent across the top, Performance across the bottom. It's got our triangle and crown logo in the middle. It is cut for his Razor. He's going to mask and paint it exactly like our current logo is done. It is awesome. And how much did that cost you?
$65.
$65. You can have a custom grill cut for your Razor or whatever other machine's probably going to be in that same price range. Where'd you pick that up from?
A guy who was just on one of the Facebook groups, and I got a hold of him. Send me a message if you guys are looking for it. I can pass you his information.
And it's phenomenal. It's really, really legitimately nice.
Yeah, it's good. So, hey.
I mean, he even took the time to, the really sharp cut edges. He deburred them and sanded them down a little bit so they're not razor sharp. I mean, he really legitimately does very nice work.
Yeah.
I wouldn't attempt to do that for $65.
No, I wouldn't, but whatever.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. It's going to look awesome. Once it's painted on the buggy, we'll take some pictures and send it his way.
Yep.
He can put it in his portfolio. So with that, we probably better put a tourniquet on this bloody mess of a show. As always, I want to thank our sponsors. Thank you so much, Watch Communications, for hosting the podcast and our website. If you need internet access in the Indiana or Ohio area, they can hook you up with that. And I was told to say that if you need web hosting anywhere on the planet, he said, I'm not even sure it's confined to the planet. It could be, even if you're extraterrestrial,
they can do it.
They can do it for you. I'm assuming you've mastered space flight and probably don't need web hosting anymore. But if you do, Watch Communications can hook you up. The code is still valid, and I found out exactly what it's for. It's for 10% off your first month of web hosting.
Okay.
Since I screwed that up royally last time.
There you go.
The code is Waste of Time. No spaces, just Waste of Time all run together. That'll get you 10% off of web hosting. So if you're part of a UTV group that needs a web presence or something like that, they can hook you up. TGM Off-Road, Rob, thanks so much for all you do for us and all the support you give us and all the advertising you do for us. UTV-doors.com. We've mentioned them several times, but they legitimately make the nicest UTV doors I have ever seen, period. They are phenomenal. So definitely check out their website. They're also available on Facebook. UTV Engineering, thank you again for the advice you've given us and for some future clutching work that I'm sure we were going to delve into. Who else am I forgetting? Harrison Power Sports. Emerson, man, just thanks for the inviting us up there for the ride and all that you've done for us on that front as well. And is it CW? Okay, I was forgetting the name. CW Motorsports.
Look at this shirt.
I can't see okay, it is Motorsports. Okay, CW Motorsports. I'm sorry. Too many sponsors, and that's a good problem to have. They hooked us up with that back half cage that is going to drop the cage 5 inches, and we don't have to do any welding or butchering or chopping, and it is a top-notch part.
Yeah, it really is.
It legitimately very, very nice work. Check out CW Motorsports. Are they Facebook? Is that their primary presence?
Facebook. They have a website also. Yep, Cody, he can hook you up. He has a presence on most all of the major Razor forums and Razor Facebook pages and stuff like that.
And I always put contact information in the YouTube video. So even if you don't want to watch the YouTube video itself, if you go find it, you can find all of our sponsor links in there as well. And you can find us on the web at eminentperformance.com is our website, /Eminent Racing on Facebook, at Eminent Racing on Instagram. And you can find the podcast on Stitcher, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Google Play. And you can find the video version on YouTube. Just look for Eminent Waste of Time, and you will find us there.
Yep. I think you got them all.
It's amazing. I'd never dreamed that our finishing segment would ever be that long.
5 minutes of finishings.
It's amazing. But seriously, the show sponsors, we really, really appreciate all you've done. It keeps this from being a giant black hole. Now it's just a small one.
Yeah.
And anybody who's in this hobby can appreciate that.
Yeah.
And no matter where you've thrown your money away, thanks for riding along with us.
Thanks, guys.
Tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.